28th verse, which we were doing. Ayudhanamaham vajram dhenunamasmi kamadhuk. Of weapons, I am Vajra, the thunderbolt. Of cows, I am the Kamadhenu. I am Gandharpa, the progenitor. Kamadeva, the god of love, said to be the lord of creation, progenitor of all sense enjoyments. The act of procreation is said to be the highest enjoyment because it engages all your sense organs and your mental and intellectual participation as well. So of all enjoyments, he says, I am Andarpaha, the progenitor. It's the king of all pleasures of any sense enjoyment, because all senses participate in it. That's why it is the most pleasurable. It is said, of serpents, I am Vasuki. Now, Vasuki is described both as a single-headed and a multi-headed serpent. Apparently, a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva wears it as his ring as well. So it is so small that he wears as his ring. The same serpent Vasuki was used to churn the Milky Ocean as a rope. So something which is as large, which can go around the circumference of a mountain, or as small that can fit into a ring, symbolizes that which is infinite, that which is all pervading, which is the reality. Anything small and big only indicates the infinite nature, the all pervasive nature. We'll move on, 29. Anantaschasmi naganam varuno yadasamaham pitrunamaryamaa chasmi yama sanyamatamaham. Anantaschasmi naganam varuno yadasamaham pitrunamaryamaa chasmi yama sanyamatamaham. I am Ananta of Nagas, the snakes. I am Varunaha of the water beings. And of forefathers, I am Aryama. I am Yama of controllers. Now, even if you read the mere translation, he keeps saying, I am, I am, I am, I am. Now, when he is saying I am, and he has been saying that I am throughout all these enumerations. Now, what is the objective of him saying I am of all this? I hope we have that understanding. Why is he saying I am everywhere? What has he got to do with all this? Asha Junior, I hope you follow the logic. Otherwise, you were wondering what is he going on.
Is it that he is trying to explain his the infinite or his existence everywhere. Like there's nothing that is where he doesn't exist.
Indeed. So objective of when we read is to see the Brahman in everything. Isn't it? So it is easier, as we have said, it's easier to identify with the self in the positivities, in the best of things. Okay. So that's the thought. We should not forget that, otherwise we might get confused. Now, getting into the nitty-gritties of what they are. Nagas are special classes of serpents with many heads. Whether it's reality, whether it is a fictionary, I don't know. But Ananta is the king of them with 1,000 heads. This you have to be, it only has to be imaginary. One snake you see, you get paranoid. Imagine seeing a snake with 1,000 heads. Sanjay, have you had an experience of any time a snake in your home, in your backyard, in your garden? Huh? No, isn't it? England don't have that much, but Australia is inundated. Everywhere in Australia, in the bushes, in the backyard, you'll always find snakes. It's very common there. You get these rattlesnakes and things like that, very common. Imagine you see a snake, imagine if I, every time in the morning I come to the center, center is just 2 minutes away from home. I come to the morning center every morning at 4:15. It's pitch dark. And people have said, I have not seen, people have said that they have seen snakes in the vicinity here. So every time I walk in, first thought is, I hope I don't see a snake every morning. So imagine Ramji, suddenly if I don't know what will happen to me. I might attain moksha, So much thought of snake is in me, I might attain moksha very soon. Huh?
You will, if you see, you will have a reflexive action, as we were discussing yesterday.
This has become conscious action. Reflexive was supposed to be there. Now you're making it a very conscious action now. Now you better see whether your conscience is supporting whether this act of yours.
No, sir, nothing will happen. I think it's good that you are thinking of Subramanya every morning. So I think Subramanya will protect you. Nothing will happen.
Why snake Subramanya?
Subramanya is the god of snakes.
Oh, is it? How is Subramanya god of snakes? The peacock clutches the snake, no? Is that in that context?
No. When you go to a Subramanya temple, it is a temple. Subramanya is basically the snake god, not snake god, snake god, God.
No, that after 1 hour, snake god will become snake god. So now we have little appetite is fair enough, sir. So Lord's don't. It's too little too early for us. No, I didn't know the connection of Lord Subramanya to be the snake god, but however, Ananta, as you know, it is said to be having 1,000 heads. It's called the Shesha, where Lord Vishnu lies on its coiled body. So what is a symbolic representation? Ananta refers to the mind, and its 1,000 heads refers to the endless desires that are housed in the mind. So a mind with multifold desires is Ananta with 1,000 heads. When the mind is always extroverted, when the mind is pointed outward, feeding on the objects or sense objects of the world, it produces immense sorrow. That is the poison. When every head has, so every desire is poisonous, every desire is painful. if it is extroverted. Now, how do we justify that every desire is poisonous? See, it needs to, not that I'm finding an excuse to expand on it, but it is just to help us break down and hit us very hard, because we are so conditioned. Any opportunity where we get to decondition, we should make use of it. So the point we're making is any desire is poisonous. So what is it in the desire that makes it deadly and poisonous? Because the desire by itself is seemingly innocuous. It is seemingly harmless. As we see, desire is a means of gaining some enjoyment. It takes me to a field of experience where you associate happiness with. So you're very innocent. So the desire is very innocently housed in you, making you believe happiness isn't something that you do not have, and go and get it. So you chase it. But in that seemingly innocent nature, it has got that potential hidden poison in it. So what the question is, what is the poisonous nature in the desire? Very poisonous. You got to be very, very careful with desire. Sanjay, let me begin with you. Repeat the question before you start answering, sir.
The question is, what's the poison? What's the poisonous aspect of desire? Of desires, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my thinking here is the two poisons are that it will consume you as you try and chase that desire. If you reach that desire, if you get it, then you'll probably want more of it, because you're not really fulfilled, because happiness isn't really from that desire. And if you don't get it, then you'll be filled with rage or some kind of anger that why am I not getting it? Why am I not getting it? So it's kind of consumes one either way, whether you fulfill it or whether you don't fulfill it.
So in effect, you're rightly referring to the potential modifications, the potential change of emotion that desire brings about, isn't it?
Yes.
Either
Yes.
way, whether you are able to get what it gives, what it wants, or you fail to get what it wants, irrespective of it, you are exposing yourself to some kind of consequence, and none of it is favorable.
No.
None of it is favorable. In fact, it is veritable hell. You're going to live in hell if you ride on desires. I hope this knowledge is ingrained in every mind as the mind starts growing. Because as you grow up, all you think is you can run behind what your mind asks and keep trying to find happiness in it. In the third chapter, very good, Sanjay. I'll elaborate what you said, but you're apt. Your answer is apt. In the third chapter, he describes desire as two qualities. He says Mahashanaha, Mahapapma. He calls the desire as Nitya Vairinam. It is your constant enemy. The constant yours is in the form of Mahashanaha, Mahapapma. Mahashanaha means all devouring. It is constantly devouring you. It is destroying you. Mahashanaha. Mahashana. Mahashana. Mahapapma. Maha means great. All. Totally. Mahapapma. all sinful. So every desire gets fed when your mind is outward, when your mind is extroverted. It's like igniting. You give an ignition to your car, and once the car starts, you have no control. You're going to have consequences. That kind of inevitable hell you get into. Now, quickly, yes, Ashama?
A car also has brakes.
Here, there are no brakes. No control. That's what we're saying. You have no control over
Desires.
the desires and where it leads you in. That's why he said, either
it
you
leads
fulfill
to
it,
ladder of downfall. It leads to ladder of downfall.
it leads to your own downfall. There's enough experience. There's enough experience. What we lack is the perception to understand from our experience. We don't realize we keep repeating the same mistake again and again. In a different way, we keep repeating it. We believe this is the purpose of life and we keep chasing, we keep running.
These satsangs are like brakes to slow us down.
Indeed, his knowledge is like a brake. Satsangs really help us to revisit that the thought. So the desire goes through the varieties of modifications, and the varieties of modifications are, as the common description we get, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, bhaya. It is kama, krodha. Krodha is anger, lobha is greed, moha is delusion, mada is arrogance, matsarya is envy, bhaya is fear. All these emotions, which the desire is the root. Desire is the root of all these emotions. So if you don't keep a check on these desires, if you don't watch out, it becomes poisonous. The thing is, this poison also no antidote. You're going to die. So all these emotions are extremely, it agitates the mind. That's the common factor. Any emotion, you take greed, you take anger, you take delusion, you take envy, jealousy, or fear, all of them unsettle the mind. So you lost your peace of mind. We go one step ahead. What is that one step ahead, Gayatri Ma? What I said right now in one statement, desire produces agitations, right? Succinctly, if you want to say that, desire is the source, the root of any agitation. What is one step ahead of that? Are you with me?
Yes, Guruji.
Because usually I don't associate silence with Gayatri Ma. So suddenly I notice silence. Either you are with me or there's something not right. Some of you only see her once a week. I see Gayatri Ma every day. And the new title Gayatri Ma has got has Pushpama will agree. Gayatri Ma the terror. She's we all shivering whenever Gayatri Ma is coming. I'm shivering. Everybody shivering. Disciplined boy, like we all become very alert and we're doing our jobs. Gayatri, the terror you are. Well, no, I'm not saying you are like that, but we are terrorized by your dynamic presence. Kama, What is one step ahead of that, Gamma? Pushpa, you agree? PM? Yes, sir. Desire produce agitations. What is one step ahead of that? In fact, if you think rationally, Gayatri Ma, it's not wrong to say desire itself is an agitation. What is desire? Desire is nothing but an impulse in your mind, an impulse arising from where? Desire arises from where?
Desire
hold
arises
on,
from the mind.
Hold on, don't answer. Desire arises from the mind, that I know. Tell me that I don't know. Huh? I'm asking question, I don't ask such dumb questions. Vaidi, are you the same Vaidi? I know.
Yes. Good morning.
Hari Om Vaidi. For a moment, I thought there's other Vaidi. I thought it's that person. Vaidi Solupa. Camera angle on there.
1 second. I have a visitor at home. I was alone so far, but somebody woke up. So.
Oh, please let the visitor also listen to the class, no?
There you are.
Now, just Vaidi is one of my very old students. He just visited us last week. In fact, the last 20 years he's in Germany, now currently in Portugal.
Hello, everyone.
Back to Portugal?
Yeah, back home yesterday.
Back home. Okay, right. Good. Glad you can join, Ganesh. So, Ganesh, as I hope you have been following the discussion, I've been saying that desire produces agitations. The variety of emotions that arise from desire causes mental agitations. Desire is the root of emotion. You got that?
Yeah.
We further said desire itself is an agitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Desire is an impulse. And that's when I asked, where does that impulse or that agitation or imperfection, where does it come from?
From a thought.
From a thought. Where does the thought come from? Give it to her. Let some wisdom go into her now only. Give one earphone to her also.
She's already grabbed the other one.
Oh, she wants both of it. Okay. What's her name?
Where is it? Kyra.
Kyra, tell me, answer the question. What is it that you want? What is the next desire you want to be fulfilled?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Kyra.
Hari Om, Kyra.
Say Hari Om.
What?
Say Hari Om.
What's that?
That's hello.
Why do we not say in English?
All right. Explain for that later.
Hi, my dear. Good morning to you. Is that your language?
Yes.
How are you?
Good.
Okay, tell me, what is it that you want next to buy?
What do you think, and what do you want to buy next? Yeah. Anything. Just answer something.
No, if you tell, you'll have to buy her today. So better not tell her.
Yeah.
Right. So, Ganesh, you were right when you said that the desire itself is an agitation. It arises from a thought. It arises from an imperfection. In fact, any desire arises only from a void. A desire arises from an emptiness or a void or an unfulfillment. Isn't it, Gayatri Ma? So if you know the origin of desire, you'll be very watchful. So the origin of desire is, okay, if you start the chart from top is Brahman, then comes ignorance of Brahman. This ignorance of Brahman creates a void. Void is nothing but a feeling of emptiness. In fact, you can describe Brahman as fullness, or in Sanskrit, it's called Paripurna. And this void creates thoughts, desires. Desire, we are saying here in the context as an agitation, or you can call it as also an impulse. And then we are saying desire produces various emotions which are further, I would say, ripples of agitations. So when you, just for a moment, if you look at this chart, how it all spans out. It is deadly. You wouldn't want to get into the trap of pitching up a desire and chasing it, because there is no way you will find any peace and comfort. Any pursuit, the entire, right from the very conception to its fulfillment, there is no end of agitation or frustration. It is going to destroy you. In fact, moment any thought comes up into your mind, any desire comes into your mind, you must be very, very wary. You must be very careful. Oh my God, what am I going to get into? A bhayam must come. And this is what is being signified. 1,000 heads. Imagine all the 100 desires, multifold desires are running out into the world to gain some object or being. And imagine this drama, this theatrical happening to every desire of yours. Oh my God. It is like a constant resonance of agitation. Can you associate fear with it? I don't know. Are you able to associate bhayam, or that what can be the psychological impact on the state of mind? There is no comfort at all in this. And this education should be given at a very young age, so that as you go into life, believing that life is meant to chase your desires and fulfill them. No doubt you can get what you want, but not trying to run behind them and fulfill them. Don't have to run behind anything to get it. If you turn your back to it, it'll come to you. Show your back to the world will come to you. You run behind the world will run away from you. This has to be taught. And that's what it means. The moment you turn inward, what do you find? You find the very same Vishnu lying on the Ananta. The same head with 1,000 snakes, which becomes monstrous and poisonous. Your mind is extroverted. It creates that chaos, destroys your life, shattered, completely shattered. But the same mind, when you turn inward, you find the Lord Vishnu is lying, the glorious Vishnu. The Lord himself is there, because the mind which is poisonous is no more poisonous because it is turned inward. So the mind by itself is not wrong. It depends on what you do with it. Even though we seem to portray mind as negative, mind is not negative. It's what direction you give to the mind. If you give it outward, it becomes monstrous. As Shakespeare defines jealousy, he defines it as a green-eyed monster, he says. Jealousy is a green-eyed monster. It mocks the meat it feeds on. I don't know if I am able to carry the gravity of the mistake that one does by running behind his eyes. It's just, it's beyond words, I tell you. The feeling is beyond words. And then moving on, he says, of the aquatic creatures, a celestial being, half fish, half man, of forefathers, I am Aryama. Aryama of forefathers, Pitruloka is said to be of the ancestors. And Aryama is the ruler of the Pitruloka. So when he says, of the forefathers, I am Aryama, Aryama refers to the first father. Perhaps a celestial cause. Is all mythology. Don't take it literally. So when he says, I am Yama of, I am Aryama of forefathers, he refers to the celestial cause, which is Brahman itself. The first father. Without the first father, there's no second father, third father, my father, your father. So if you have to say, where did your father's father come from? It has to go to Aryama. And therefore, Aryama, he says, I am the Aryama of forefathers. Thank you. How did the world start? Say Aryama. That fellow will not ask any further question. Neither you know what you're saying, neither he can understand what you're saying. I am Yama of controllers. Yama is the lord of death. Death only symbolizes the concept of change. So when a person dies, death only indicates a birth. Birth, what follows birth is death. So death and birth philosophically only suggests change. So when he says, I am Yama of controllers, it means I am the controller of change. I am the changeless in the change. Any change, what happens? It affects us, isn't it? So when he says, I am the changeless, means I remain unaffected in the change. So there are certain aspects in these section of the verses you can draw a deeper philosophy. Otherwise, it seems just to be mentioning the obvious. All right, move on. 30, please.
Sir, just one question.
Yes, sir.
One question. In all these things, he is describing himself as the best in that category. He is not saying that I am Nagas, or he is not saying that I am all the aquatic things, or he is not saying that I am there in all of them. He's saying I am the best in that. is there any significance to that word? Because I mean, if I was thinking that whenever he said I, we have to actually interpret it as ourself. And so I'm just trying to figure out what is the significance of saying that the self is the Vasuki of Nagas, or the self is the best of this, best of that, best of this. So, I mean, I am not able to understand that. So, is there something that we can?
In fact, with that thought, I actually, when I read the first verse today, I just mentioned, are you able to relate to why he's saying I am, I am, I am? Now, see, why we did mention when we got to this section, that when he chooses the best in every facet, every aspect of the world, he is going by the psychology. The psychology is we associate spirituality with goodness. We associate spirituality with purity or cleanliness or any positive quality. We don't know, when you see a garbage bin, are you reminded of Brahman, Atman?
We should be, but we generally are not reminded of it. Yeah.
That also, garbage also is Brahman.
Correct.
The worst of sinners also is God. The
Correct.
most atrocious act also is God. Everything is Brahman. But since he's talking to Arjuna, because Arjuna asked him, where all can I locate you? So you must understand, Arjuna was not in a caliber where he could see Brahman everywhere. So he is facilitating to Arjuna. And the coincidence is you and I are at the same level of Arjuna.
Yeah.
Therefore, it applies to us also, which is we are not that evolved where, sorry, sir, I'm including you. I'm talking about I can talk of myself. Huh? Without Ushama was staring at me. How can you include my husband without his permission?
No, she will put me 100 levels below you. So don't worry.
No. Please don't mute UK now. We are going into a different topic now then. Okay, sir. So the objective is it's easier to associate spirituality with positivity. You are able to associate Brahman with positive. Even though you and I understand Brahman has got nothing to do with either positive or negative, right?
Correct.
How do we describe Brahman? Brahman is described as Punya, Apunya, Vivarjita Pantaha.
Yeah.
Brahman is beyond the good and the bad.
Correct.
But still, to begin with, we will see Brahman in the best. And then as you evolve, you will start seeing Brahman everywhere. So in simple layman's term, I need to go to a temple to identify, to locate God.
Correct. When God is everywhere.
When God is everywhere. A fellow who doesn't have common sense will be urinating on the same compound wall of the temple. That is the pathetic state of a fellow who doesn't see God there. I am most sanctified. I am the best inside the temple. The moment I walk out of the temple, what happens to my behavior? I'm like a chameleon. Inside one color, outside one color. But if I'm able to take that spirit of feeling elevated, even beyond the sanctum sanctorum, if I can carry that aura of that feeling in every stone that I see as nothing but God, I am at a very high level, which is what the next verse, he starts off by saying, I am Prahalada of Daityas, which Prahalada was told. In fact, Prahalada told, he was convinced that God is everywhere. He told his father Hiranyakashipu, God is there in the pillar and the stone.
Right.
So the reason why he's telling all this is because we are not at that elevated level. So it's easier to trigger positivity, easier to identify divinity in positive qualities than negative qualities. Because always negativity has a negative association. So you may not relate it to Brahman. more in that sense, he is trying to mention all the best, and he's using the terms and concepts and figures who were well known, regarded, prevalent, looked up to in that era, or perhaps even Arjuna, was very familiar of these names during those times. You and I will not even know who's Aryama. If at all anybody knows amongst us, only Sanjay. Sanjay is well versed in all these things. Does it clarify, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, sir. So the 30th translation, please. So he says, I am Prahlada of Daityas. Daityas are the types of Rakshasas. I am time of reckoners.
Guruji, we didn't chant also.
Oh, wait, we chanted, no? No, we didn't chant?
No.
Okay, we shall chant as you say so. Now you see the terror she is. Okay. Prahladastasmi daityanam kala kalayatamaham mruganam cha mrugendroham vainateyascha paschinam. Prahladastasmi daityanam kala kalayatamaham mruganam cha mrugendroham vainateyascha paschinam. I am Prahlada of Daityas. I am time of reckoners, of beasts. I am the lion and Vainateya of the birds. So Daityas, as I've said, are a certain type of Rakshasa. Rakshasas are nothing but people who their assigned portfolio is causing destruction. Very busy. They only go about causing damage everywhere. Rakshasas. Nothing constructive they do, only destruction. And they are the progeny of Diti. So Prahalada belonged to the ruling class because his father was Hiranyakashipu. If you know the story, the famous story, beautiful story, something which at least in my mind has struck so profoundly, seeing that classic production, the movies, how the Prahalada character and her story and how it really got impinged in my mind, and I can't forget that. Sanjay, you should look into YouTube, and I'm sure you will have some. I don't know whether you would have it in what language you will follow. Don't expect it in English, huh? And that too in British English, you will nowhere. You follow Hindi, Sanjay? Thoda. Yeah. We can hear you, Sanjay.
Oh, no, not Hindi. I'll look for a Gujarati version. I'll try and follow this one if that exists.
I will produce one very soon. Then I'll send you.
Oh,
Gujarati
then you might as well
version.
produce it.
Gujarati
you might as well
version,
produce in English then, Guruji.
Yeah. How can you ask Prahalada in Gujarati, sir? I can't understand. It's like a unimaginable combination, that is. But he's a tiny little fellow. The story of Prahalada, no? His father.
Actually, I don't know. I will look for this. I will look for something.
Please, it's something very, very inspiring. Please do look. But I'll just give a brief. So Rakshasa clan, his father is the king of that Rakshasa clan, and his son is Prahalada. Everybody in the country used to chant Hiranyakashipu. The father is being glorified because he's the king. And it's a Rakshasa clan. Everybody are Asuras, Rakshasas. But this, his own son, is a greatest devotee of the arch rival of enemy of Hiranyakashipu, which is Lord Vishnu. His father's enemy is the newfound love of Prahalada. So the story goes, in his own palace, in his own chambers, he keeps hearing his enemy's name being chanted. And I can't get myself off that famous song, a song, I can't do justice to the song at all, but the song goes like this. Narayana mantram, Sriman Narayana mantram. He keeps singing that song. Ramji, please sing, sir, for us. You will know all the multi-role Ramji has.
If I sing, you will all forget Prahalada Charitra, sir.
Sir, I already started that. Please carry on the parampara.
Narayana mantram, Sriman Narayana bhajanam.
Acha.
Narayana mantram, Sriman Narayana bhajanam. Nada Hare, Sri Nada Hare, Nada Hare, Jagannatha Hare. Nada Hare, Sri Nada Hare, Nada Hare, Jagannatha Hare. Narayana mantram, Sriman Narayana bhajanam. It goes on. It has 3-4 stanzas.
Correct. Yeah. So stand corrected is Narayana mantram, Narayana bhajanam. So it's so beautiful. It has got into us, I tell you. So what is about it? So he was the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu. In fact, he was a masterpiece of all of them. And because of his love for Vishnu, he was detested by his own clan. Everybody in his own kingdom detested Prahalada because of his virtuous nature. Now, what are Daityas famous for? Being a Rakshasa, as I've said, Daityas are famous for their job is destruction. UK. Modern day also you'll find Daityas, don't worry. But that day, in those days, everybody in the kingdom was professional destroyer. Now, what did Prahalada do? I would say Prahalada was the greatest destroyer of all of them. What did he destroy? Any guess?
He destroyed the ignorance in them, Guruji. He tried to.
He tried to destroy. In fact, he destroyed, not a bad guess. In fact, he destroyed the very clan itself. Hiranyakashipu was killed.
Yes,
so when the king is gone, there's no more clan. It's all gone. So Prahalada was the greatest destroyer because he destroyed the clan itself. It's an interesting way of looking at it. So I am Prahalada of Daityas. So it really doesn't matter. You can have a father as a Hiranyakashipu, you can be a Prahalada. What do you learn from that? Out of context, obviously. What do you learn? The father being a Rakshasa and Prahalada being it's a highly tamasic person and a highly sattvic son. Father is tamasic, son is sattvic. What is the implication? Other day, somebody was vehemently holding on to their point of view. I said, please think about it. I made my point and said, you think about it. What do you gather? Many people believe that if you're born into a Brahmin family, you become a Brahmana. You're born into a Vaishya family, you become a Vaishya. You're born into a Shudra, you become a Shudra. So the point that was being made is you can be born there, but you can change your profession according to your convenience. No. You don't become a Brahmana because you're born into a Brahmin family. What determines what are the four? Gajrima, what are the four? Dash. What do you call them?
We call them as caste system, but it is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, according to their nature actually, or profession. Instead of profession, it's more or less the nature, inbuilt nature in them.
So the caste system is Varnas, the four Varnas. The four Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The four Varnas are based on Gunatraya Vibhagashaha. The classification of the four caste system are based on your gunas. So if you're predominantly a sattvic person, you become a Brahmana automatically. It doesn't matter where you're born into. So Prahalada was the most sattvic of all. So irrespective of the environment, he was so sattvic that the environment did not influence him. Many a time, we are influenced by the environment of the company we keep. So how strong must this man be that even the worst of environment did not condition or change his mindset? On the contrary, he was so strong, he influenced others. In the movie Sanjay, if at all you get to see, father sends him to a Gurukul. Because this fellow is only chanting Narayana, Narayana everywhere. And as I told, everybody in the country has to chant his name, father's name. So he sends to the best of schools. Gurukul is, Gurukul and Ashrama, where he has to be changed, that he must start worshipping not Vishnu, but Hiranyakashipu. He gives 2 weeks time. He says, I'm going to come back and see how well my son has progressed. And the king is coming and giving an order to you. They were shivering. Why is the king coming? So they take his son and they give their best shot. But the story goes, everybody else starts chanting the name of Vishnu. Instead of he being changed to Hiranyakashipu, he convinced everybody else. It's just one is the hilarious part of that story. But what we learn is, if you are strong, the world will not influence you. And it is the weak that are influenced by the Mahat or the totality. But once you become strong, you will influence the Mahat or the totality wherever you go. That is the spiritual aura. If you gain, you are not influenced by the Mahat, means the totality around you. Wherever you go, you carry that spiritual aura. So then moving on, he says, I am time of reckoners. Means it's a common denominator of all experiences. Everything that you do in life, it is measured with time. So I am that which is the common denominator of all your calculations. Oh my God, every time you see the time, you think of Brahman. Amazing, isn't it? Again, association of thought. Everything you can associate with Brahman. That's the beauty and grandeur of this knowledge. Everything that you experience, you can associate. Of the beasts, I am the lion. The king of creatures. Vainateya of the birds. Vainateya is Garuda, is the most powerful bird. What do you find unique and common in a lion or a Garuda? Garuda is an eagle. Eagle Solama. It's an eagle. The variety of eagles or vultures you find. But one common factor in an eagle or a lion. Why is Venkata Apparao? All this while I didn't notice it. Why are you not seen? Is it WAP or app?
It's app, sir, not app.
What is happening, app? Why are you incognito mode?
I have people at home, sir. That's the reason.
Okay, sir. Thanks for the darshan app.
My apologies, Guruji, but
No, Mahadarshan idanta. Apologies, Mahadarshan idanta. Correct, Gayatri Ma? They call Vaikunta Dwaram, they give, no, and that kind of access, this darshan. Aparagaru, kodai cheppan sir maku. What is the difference between a lion and all other creatures vis-a-vis the Garuda or an eagle and all other birds? Why does he say I am the lion and I am the Vainateya?
sir, lion is basically it's the king of the jungle, so it's one of the topmost animal. So that's the reason. And Garuda has sharp vision. It's a very strong bird. I feel that he has chosen best of all the beings, sir. When Krishna was saying, whether it is a vruksha, a tree, or whether it is a human being, whether it is a rishi, among the rishi, he says he is a Kapila. So he says whatever the best, he says I am that. That was what my understanding is.
Indeed, that is the common denominator in all the enumerations, in all the set of verses. But as you say, that that trademark quality of being a lion or a Garuda is, you find all other animals, they live in herds. You find a lion or an eagle always a sole eagle soaring high in the sky. You don't find, for example, you don't find 100 eagles together, rare. 20 eagles together flying.
Sir, according to the Animal Planet, lion lives in packs. Pride, it's called pride. Eagle, what you're saying is right. The tiger is alone. It hunts all alone, sir.
Yes, sir. I was about to say, sir, but and with due respect to great Vyasa, I didn't want to differ with him. Sir, actually, a lion doesn't hunt at all. It is a lioness that hunt and feed the lion. And after the lioness, the pack of lioness, they hunt. The first meal is had by the lion, and what is left over are had by the lioness, the rest of the herd or the pack.
Yeah.
So it truly has that majestic stance. It just bosses over everything.
Yes, sir.
In fact, even if you carefully study, a lion never spends time with the pack. In fact, a lion only comes and eats and mates. Other time, it's only all by itself. I don't think anybody sees more Animal Planet or National Geographic than me in this classroom. Vijay will be testimony to that, because Vijay and Vaishnavi keep cursing me that in my next Janma, I'm going to be born one of them. Or in my previous Janma, I was one of them. So they keep going to my past Janma and future Janma. I said, please look at me in this Janma. This Janma, they're not saying, they have nothing to do with me, they're saying.
So probably they're right, sir. You'll be born as a lion then.
Sir, I don't have any plan at all, sir. What are you trying to fix a plan for me? I have no interest in being born. This is my last birth. Who else then better than you know that, sir?
Yeah, my mother's is also last birth.
Correct. Your mother's and mine both are only last birth. I went when I remember going to visiting them, and Aparoji said that his mother is very convinced it's the last birth. She's going to attain moksha. I said, what a thought. I said, I've never seen anybody so certain. Correct, huh?
100%, sir. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. No
She
doubt
doesn't
about
have a
it.
doubt. I have lots of doubts. She is not having any doubt.
She is having no doubt. I also have no doubt, sir. So don't plant any thought of lion in my head. Okay. So only admiration. Right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Really connecting. So the eagle and lion, the eagle and the lion, what it's trying to convey is a certain grandeur about them. The grandeur of the capacity of total independence. In fact, if you look at other animals gain strength from being in herds. Other birds flock in numbers, so they gain strength from numbers. So where there are numbers, it indicates you're weak. The strong don't need numbers. The moment you're strong, you can live all by yourself. And one of the reasons one gets married is you want companionship. But once you are spiritual, you don't need companionship. You may live in a company, but you don't need, mentally you're not designed, you're designed to be self-sufficient. You don't need congregations. You know, to live all by yourself. So when he compares the lion and the Garuda, he represents Atman of how Atman is totally independent of the world. Atman is not dependent on the world. The true self in you is not dependent on the world. In fact, one of the qualities to measure your spiritual development is as you spiritually evolve, you become less dependent on everything around you. You don't need the world as a prop to give you that support. The world is there, the world is not there. What would happen if you have no job for next 6 months? Vaidhi, and the thought little uncomfortable, yeah. 6 months guarantee job illappa.
And then you start wondering about all your financial commitments and all that.
You may be in a position to take care of 6 months. Another 6 months I had 1 year without a job. You may be protected to pay few years of your bills or no bills at all, but there's no job for you. What is that feeling in you? Do you feel assured or you feel unassured without a job? So I'm only trying to address not the question of commitments and other things. How well you're placed on another point. The point is how you feel complete or wholesome with a job, or when that job isn't there in your life, how wholesome you feel. Do I feel any less without it? I hope you get the point.
Mm.
It can be you replace it with family. Let's say family is away in India and you're all by yourself. Do you feel that emptiness of nobody around you when you come back home? You don't see your child, you don't see the noise, you don't hear all that excitement, you don't have anybody to talk to. Does the absence of the family create any lacuna in me?
No, it's actually quite comfortable.
You will tell that. I know that statement you spoke a little softly also. I noted that. Suddenly your voice dropped. Ramji, a very, very trained boy. Huh? Well trained. I can see that. Now, sir, if you are, I know you're getting it, but if you want to really test yourself, intensify that and see where that capacity to be self-sufficient snaps. At some point you say, I can't take it anymore. You need the company, you need the world, you need the attention, you need the name, you need that contact of the world. To that extent, one is dependent. That's how you judge. That's how you know to what extent I'm dependent. Just to measure your spiritual quotient. One of the most powerful qualities to gauge is, am I self-sufficient or am I dependent? So when he compares a tiger or a lion, oh my God, it is such a treat to see the entire jungle tremors. The tiger is not on a hunt. It is just going for a little stroll. That's all. An evening walk. He just had little more bites of food for dinner. It just wants to take a stroll. And the whole jungle is alert. Everything terrified. And what is the majesty, the grandeur of that? Whew. That is the quality of a spiritual person. That's why they say spiritual path is a loner's path. So don't complain if nobody's with you. And that's the reason whenever, what do you notice? Have you noticed it? That whenever in the olden days, temples were always constructed up in the mountains. Sanjay, have you experienced it? Have you noted it? What have you noted in the context? In the olden days, when temples were constructed up in the mountains, what used to be the access? They never had tarmac roads or helipads and all those days.
No, it was a journey that required effort.
It was just, you had to take a walk, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what would you find? Sometimes very difficult to frame the right question. Okay. I'm trying to explain spiritual path is a loner's journey. I am comparing it back to the path to the temples up in the mountains.
Yeah, so there's probably a big crowd at the bottom, and then the crowd kind of dwindles as you get towards the temple, so people are dropping off, unable to carry on. But it's those that kind of stick with the journey that have that strength.
I'm in fact not comparing that aspect of it, but what do
okay.
you notice of the path to the mountain? Sorry, path to the temple?
That it's not necessarily well constructed. It's just natural. It's just I don't know if that's what.
If you're in your own backyard, let's say there's a carpeted lawn, and let's say if somebody has constantly walked on that garden, through the garden, constantly use that particular pathway, what happens? That particular section of the lawn stops growing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That patch of garden where you walked, that path gets dried up. There's no more. And what do you see? There is a natural pathway created because of constant walk. And if you see, even you experience that if you're a trekker, same philosophy. If you're a trekker, what do you know? Are you a trekker, Ganesh? Ganesh, Sulpa. Hey, Sanjay, are you a trekker?
I'm not a trekker, no.
Please mute Sanjay immediately.
Yeah.
I'll
mute myself. Yeah.
Please, better. Don't give us too much work. Sulpa, Ganesh.
You're right. So whenever you trek, you hike, you see, even apart from the main track, the hundreds and thousands of people trek, even the side tracks where just a couple of 100 people have gone, you see a pathway. Sometimes there's even no pathway, there's just the trees have the bushes have kind of said there's a slight separation.
It is a single path. It's a single file where only one person can walk. It is never a track where two people can walk side by side.
Mm.
What does that convey? It conveys spiritual path is a loner's path. So if I'm going with a spiritual journey, my family has to walk behind me. I can't hold hand in hand and walk in the spiritual path. So you can't hold, even if there's a group going, especially as you keep in a mountain trail, as they say, is all one behind the other, isn't it?
Right.
Unless there is the main Broadway, that's a path created, that's a different thing. But natural pathways into the mountains always is the single trail, which strongly suggests spiritual path is a loner's path. You can't do it for others. You can't take them along with you. So find the strength in being by yourself, which is so beautifully, very powerfully conveyed by comparing it to the king of the beasts, which is the lion, and the king of the birds, which is Garuda. Outstanding. Just a certain association, which I can relate to, and hope you all can relate to it.
I have a question relating to an earlier
Please go ahead.
conversation. Yeah, if you have time, yeah, can I post that?
Yes, please.
You were mentioning, you were talking about how dependent are we? Take away family, take away certain other interactions. But on a spiritual journey, how do we? What is the yardstick? I mean, if we measure ourselves with extreme situations, I take myself, I can lock myself, say no inputs to any of the sense organs. I don't talk, I don't hear anything, I don't see anything. And then still I'm absolutely fine by myself. Or do we, is it relative, just what I was in the past, and then we progress in our own surroundings. We are fine when something is lacking. I'm fine if I don't talk to somebody for 2 days. I'm fine if I don't have certain interactions, and I notice that when something is not there, I'm still fine. You understand my question?
Yes. No, the best way to, in context of what you're asking, Ganesh, the best way to find out how self-sufficient you are, how independent you are, is by creating a change in environment, changing situations. So, and to what extent can that change impact you, or has it impacted you? Suddenly fame comes your way, and after a while there's no more fame, there's no more recognition. You have following, then there's no following. There is wealth, there's no wealth. There's love, and that love is no more there. Does it really have a toll on you, or to what extent it's having a toll on you? So the change of situations, see, we don't expose ourselves to change. Many a time the change we are subjected to because of external happenings. If you really want to test yourself, you have to subject yourself to change, and then see how well am I coping myself. It's like, any of these gadgets. Other day we were talking about any technology, even these airbags. We were talking a few sessions ago, we were talking of airbags, and airbags have evolved so beautifully. But what was the first airbag? In fact, many people died because of airbag. Ramji? Because that fellow came out too fast. Can you imagine? A thing which should save your life itself kills you. So they put it to test so much, such rigorous tests to say that yes, it is perfect, it is fit to be implemented, it can be in bulk production, mass production. So you will have to put yourself to test yourself in various situations, circumstances, and be very objective to gauge yourself. To what extent am I unaffected? To that extent, yes, I have reached a certain level, but beyond this, I get ruffled. I do get emotional. I lose my composure. I need that little comfort. That's when that's my okay. You can then say, okay, I'm 30% independent or self-sufficient. I'm not dependent. But when I push the bar to 50%, 60%, it's very obvious I'm not able to. That, yeah.
I can't unmute myself normally. I see that. Yeah, so when you
Now,
say
we can hear you.
okay, so when you say yes, 30%, my question was, what is 100% in that case? Now, is that really shutting down somebody?
No.
If I just shut down for X number of days or forever, and I'm fine, is that 100%?
So from 30%, we can't understand 100%. Only we can misunderstand. But 100% state is where even when Christ, just examples I can take, when Christ was being nailed on the cross, he only forgave them. It didn't matter to him. For all that he tried to do good to mankind, somebody nails you on the cross. How would you react to it? Means the greatest of gain is no gain. The greatest of loss is no loss. It doesn't matter to you. It is all illusory. It is no substance to you. It has no effect on you. It's like, what will happen if your daughter gets up and she realizes one of her toys is missing, and you threw it away because it is broken, it's beyond repair. Some stuffed toy she had, and the dog tore it into pieces, and before your daughter saw, you threw it away. When she sees her toy is missing, her favorite toy, it means a whole world is lost to her. You can't persuade her and say, never mind, beta, it's gone, I'll buy you a new toy. You can't persuade her. She only wants that. What are the toys that makes your toys? You got to find out. There are your toys that entertain you. There are toys that entertain me. So I need to know if that toy is taken out, what toy. It can be name, it can be power, it can be money, it can be status, it can be family, it can be relationships, it can be, I don't know. There are various things that mean something to us. For a man of realization, nothing adds value to him. Nothing diminishes nor adds. So he has reached a state of Brahman, which is 100% paripurna, 100% self-sufficient. That we can only intellectually conceive it. But as you get closer and closer to it, you can actually feel that sense of freedom. And you don't have to subject yourself to extremities to do that. You will have to go through the normal experience of life, but keep raising the bar of sadhana. If you are a giver, to what extent are you a giver? If you are a forgiver, to what extent are you a forgiver? I know you are an athlete. Don't you test yourself, your performance? Your strength only increases by the challenges you increase. Similarly, in the spiritual field, you will have to intensify your sadhana. And at some stage, we say, I've reached my threshold. It's only, we have enough yardsticks given, but it's only about we diligently following them and discovering ourselves where I truly stand. For that, you need to be a little objective. Otherwise, many a time, I could be very prejudiced. I'm assessing myself. That's where you need to be very careful in self-evaluation. All right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anything further? We can always take it again. For now, I leave it at this, and we'll come back. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.